Good morning, everyone. It's Joker, and today we are back with another story time video with slime in the background because I needed a clip that was long enough for me to rant, and, well, this is going to be a long clip. It's like 18 minutes long. So, story time. Last time we talked about in my youth when my parents sent me away to the boot camp, camping, boating, whatever the fuck you want to call it, uh, location in Boston because I was an asshole. Well, today we're going to talk about one of the things they tried to do leading up to that experience, right? So this is like when I was becoming an asshole and they're like, "Oh, okay, well, let's try and ground him, or let's try and to reduce whatever in multiple ways." And it came about because this is in the 90s, right? 90s, early 2000s. Computers weren't a super huge thing. Like, people had them now, but it's not like me sitting here with 6 computer monitors that I can look at right now. It was one computer, kind of expensive, one household. The internet was still dial up, and it made that terrible sound when you tried to log in. You couldn't use the hard landline phone if you were on the internet because it took up the one line. But uh, gamer rage, right? All the videos online of people just smashing their keyboards up and screaming because something didn't go their way. Yeah, that was me when I was a child. Except it would carry over, right? So I'd play video games and I'd get more and more upset, and then I'd stop playing games and I'd still be upset. And my parents noticed that, so like, okay, yeah, you're not allowed to play games for that long. Like, you'd go on like binging hours long gameplay, and this is the 90s. There weren't, Elden Ring wasn't a thing back then. This was Flash games and like N64s and such things. So it was not peak quality rage content, I guess, if you'll put it out that way. But they had to figure out a way to monitor my video game intake, and more so than just, hey, you're grounded from the TV, don't turn it on. And then what the fuck would I do? I would just turn it on because I didn't really care. And then they come home and put their hand over the TV. It's like, huh, why is this TV warm? Oh, I don't know. It's like, you weren't playing it? No, I've been up the stairs all day. It's like, oh, you're a fucking liar. So eventually, they came up with this. They looked online for this brilliant, quote unquote, little device called a Time Scout. And what it was a credit card machine for the TV or the computer monitor or whatever. So if you look at this picture that I probably have up right now, you can see that it's got this cable that goes into the wall, and then it has this weird little black box, and it has another outlet, and then that has this little other thing that with a little card on it. Yeah, so what happens is you plug it into the wall, and then you plug the TV cable or the computer monitor cable into that black box, and then you lock it, like with an actual lock, so you can't remove the monitor cable. And then what that would do is that you would swipe this card, or my parents would swipe this card, and it would give you 30 minutes at a time, right? So you'd swipe it 4 times and you get 2 hours of gameplay. And then once that 2 hours expired, the little black box just shut off. And it shut off the computer monitor, or it shut off the TV. And because it was locked into that little thing, you couldn't just turn it back on. Like, it was off. Uh, so what happens is they would ration my video game time or TV time or whatever onto this card. So they would swipe 30 minutes on, and I would have my own little card, and I would swipe it, and it would activate, and it would count down. And that's what they did for a couple months, is that, like, okay, you have X amount of time per week. You can spend it how you want, so be good with it or something. And that's what they would do. And of course, no kid would be thrilled about that. Can you imagine? Like, parental controls nowadays are a thing that are just built into TVs and systems and all that, so it's very easy. This was the very not technology kind of way to do it. So what I would do is I'd swipe the card and be like, okay, well, I'm in the middle of a game, and then all of a sudden 30 minutes passes and boop, blank screen. Can't do anything about it. I'm like, fuck, that sucks. So what I would do in the middle of the night is I would take some hairpins and some paper clips and I would unbend them, and I would attempt to pick the lock that was on this little extended part on the black box. Like, one side is pushed out. Yeah, you put the lock in there. I learned how to pick that lock so I could just unplug it from the black box and plug it back into the outlet, and then I could play for free. And then when I was done, I would just plug it back in, put the lock back on, and then go to bed. And my parents wouldn't be the wiser, right? Right? Well, it didn't take too long for them to find out that something was wrong when I was always mad. So they had to get a better lock, a one that I couldn't lock pick, and I tried. I tried. I learned that the tumblers inside you got to match them all up at the same time and then turn. I learned how to do that. I taught myself how to pick very small, not complicated locks. And could I do it now? No. It's been 30 years. No, not 30. It's been like 20 years since I've had to do that. There's no way. But once they got the bigger, better locks, I found the next best thing, and is that I would just ransack their room and try and find their override key card, which gave like 8 hours of unrestricted access. Because you got to remember, my parents are using the computer too, right? They're not going to swipe themselves 30 minutes at a time because that's just asinine. They had this like 8-hour override where you had unrestricted access, whatever you swipe it and it's on for 8 hours, and then it would expire, and then it would go back to black screen. So during the day when they had to work or do something, they would swipe that. Well, I just stole that card eventually and was like, oh yeah, 8 hours. By the time I wake up, it'll be done, right? Yeah, well, if you go downstairs at midnight and you swipe an 8-hour card and your parents wake up at around 6 and they go downstairs, they're gonna kind of wonder why there's 2 hours remaining on this thing when they've been asleep since 9. What a fucking idiot. Time does not exist in this world. Also, I don't know if you could tell, but me being mad at math started at an early age. But yeah, they put this on the TVs, they put this on the computer downstairs, because I lived in Ohio, we had a basement, and that's where the computer was. They put it on literally everything. And I mean, it worked until I eventually found ways around it. And by finding ways around it, they had to come up with new and more interesting ways to do it. And these stayed on the devices like years. Like, even when they sent me away to the boot camp, they were still on the computer. And as computers became more prevalent, like, when I entered, when we moved away from Ohio, that's, I think, when they got rid of them. Because I was starting high school, and computers were now much more prevalent, and I needed to use them, and so this didn't really work. Like, I think they still tried to use them a little bit, but I don't think they really tried as hard. So I don't remember what they did during high school to get around this, but definitely when I was a young teenager, they had these credit card machines hooked up to the monitors, and they're like, yep, you can't do it. And it seems wild. Like, if I try and tell this story to people, just, I know in real life, they'd be like, you're joking. You're like, there's nothing that can do that. It's like, no, there is. And like, parental controls on your PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, your smart TV, they came from something. This was the precursor. This was you can only be on during set amount of hours. This doesn't have content restrictions, right? You can't watch certain channels. However, it's like, hey, now is a TV time off or screen time off, and the TV would shut it down unless you have a password, which is much more secure nowadays. Not a card or a lock that you can pick or steal. But it came from something, and it pretty much came from this. So I don't know if you can blame my parents for this, because obviously this is a product they had to purchase, so it was already out there. But I definitely experienced what came before parental controls on your TV. And it just goes to show that I've been an asshole my entire life, I guess is the best way to put that. I mean, what else can I say about that? What would I play when they had these up? I would play Command & Conquer Red Alert 2, a real-time strategy game. I would play that on the PC. I would look at a whole lot of porn because I was that age, right? So I was a blossoming teenager who had learned that cooties aren't that bad from girls. Uh, so I would do that. I would play my N64, Super Smash Bros., right? Mario Kart, GoldenEye, Star Fox 64, Pokemon Stadium. That was a thing, right? I think they just recently redid Pokemon Stadium. Recently being within the last like 4 years or something. I don't know. I don't really play Pokemon anymore. I haven't played Pokemon since like Gold and Silver. I stopped playing Pokemon after Gold and Silver. So people in my Discord were naming off all these Pokemon names. I was like, these are just people having seizures. This is the sound you make when you get hit in the balls or something. And they're like, no, they're real Pokemon. It's like, oh, man, I'm really glad I stopped at Gold and Silver. Gen 2. That's as far as I need to go. I don't give a crap about what else came after that. Man, what else would I play? I would watch Saturday morning cartoons. I would watch Transformers Beast Wars. That was my introduction to Transformers as a child, was Beast Wars, and legitimately awful CGI. But hey, it was the 90s. Like what did you think was going to happen? This isn't great stuff, okay? This was peak computer generated graphics for 1999, and there's nothing you can do about it. But I wanted to watch it. I wanted to watch that, and I wanted to watch Courage the Cowardly Dog and Rocco's Modern Life, Ed, Ed and Eddie. Yeah, crazy. But I would be limited by this time scout bullshit. And until I started stealing the card or unpicking the lock, I would just have to deal with it. So I could be in the middle of a match, like you're about to win the fight, and it would shut off, and there's nothing you can do, and be like, oh, that would be so much more frustrating than just. Can you imagine if you're playing some kind of ranked thing, like if you were playing a ranked Jubilee, right? And it had a time limit, or it does have a time limit technically, but you were like right on the cusp of getting your personal best score, and then the screen just cut, and then there's nothing you could do about it until your parents loaded up more time for you, and by then it's probably Jubilee's over, and your best run is just washed out the gate, and there's legitimately nothing you can do. Like that's the kind of absolute awful rage that built up inside of me when that happened. So, moral of the story is I want to say everything in moderation, but obviously that's not a thing when I sit here at this computer 23 hours out of the day. Um, your your parents will find a way to deny you what you want. There's always some kind of technology out there that's going to cuck you. Whether it's in the 1990s or it's in 2025, there is some piece of technology out there, whether you know it exists or not, that will deny you what you want to do in life. And it could be as easy as Microsoft Excel and you not knowing how to use it. Or it's just parental controls. Or, maybe, I don't know, whoever's watching this if you have children, but parental controls started with this. So be grateful that you didn't have to buy a whole extra apparatus to do this, and you just could input a password, cum stain 69 at jockstrap or something like that, and your kid would never be able to guess that, because who the fuck would expect that password out of your parents, right? I don't know. But yeah, so that is my intriguing story time video for you, with some, what is this, Warrior's Mind? Yeah, Warrior's Mind beatdown battle in the background. So let me know if you enjoyed this video. Did you, before this video came out, did you know that this is where parental controls started from? Did you know that this was a thing, a credit card machine for your fucking TV? Let me know. But that's it from me, guys. Take it easy, and I'll see you all later.